Hey, all right, so we made a little bit of a run this morning. Made it down here to Jurassic Park. We'll see if maybe we can find some T-Rexes this morning. Haven't been in here in a long time, so we'll see if they're in here. I'm sure hoping they are because we came a long way for it. So we'll see what happens, guys. Didn't take long. Is it a keep? I believe it's a keep. That's one.
So as you can see on my second cast, I caught a keeper bass, and I'm really thinking, man, this is going to be really good. And literally after I got my stuff together, like the very next cast I made, I had another one come up and take the buzzbait, and he got off, as you can see. So the fish were not taking the buzzbait as well as I would have liked, and I actually missed a couple more prior to this shot right here. So I switched over to whopper plopper, you know, those treble hooks hanging off. You know, typically if a fish comes up on it, you can catch them. As you can see, I caught quite a few on a whopper plopper. So as the morning went on, you know, these fish just continued to bite, and I'm not quite sure how many I caught on top, but it was quite a few, and you know, they were taking it pretty good, and I was really excited at this point in the day.
Yes, he's a line burner. Yes, he's a line burner. I don't think he does. Nope.
At this point in the day, I'd really lost track of how many fish I had caught in top water. You know, it was a bunch, but they were all pretty much, either right at keepers or right under keepers, and I really didn't have much at all in the box. So I knew that I needed to make a transition, and that's what I did. You know, the sun was getting a little bit higher, and I thought, well, it's time to get out, you know, the flipping stick and see what I can do with using some soft plastics and, you know, just going a little slower and taking more time. At this point, I had flipped up quite a few fish and a lot of non-keepers, and right here I got into a little bit better fish, and I believe it was the second or maybe my third keeper of the morning.
Yes. For sure he's 14.
You know, I'm the type of guy that always kind of keeps a crankbait on the deck. It's just a force of habit, and you can see I picked up a crankbait here and actually ended up picking up a fish on it, and I threw it for a little bit but quickly realized I needed to go back to doing some flipping. So this fish coming up is kind of interesting. It's hard to see, but really I'm flipping to an undercut bank right here. And you'll see that in a lot of these rivers where some current comes in. It'll wash that bank out. A lot of times the fish will set up underneath of it. And this is another keeper that helped me out and added to what I had.
Long. He looks long.
So this next fish catch coming up is, I believe it's my 5th keeper, and you know, I was pretty excited. No matter what, if you're tournament fishing, it's always great to have 5 in the box. It gives you the confidence, and it just feels good to know you have your limit.
Got you, boy. I believe you're 14. I believe you're 14.
This fish right here is another solid keeper that helped add to what I had, and you know, it was it was good because it was gaining some momentum, and I thought, well, maybe they're going to get bigger and things are going to start really looking up here soon. You know, one thing I want to talk about is at this point in the day, it's getting later. You can see the sun is up higher, and I'm really starting to think about the weather. The wind has picked up, you know, and that's one thing. Anytime you're fishing these large rivers, any big body of waters, where is that wind coming from? Has it shifted direction? How fast is it blowing? And what's that going to do to your ability to make it back to the weigh-in? So at this point, it's getting late in the afternoon. The wind is actually picking up a lot. I started thinking about that, and you know, I had a limit. It was not very big, and I got a phone call from my buddy Steve, and you can kind of see what we talked about.
Man, I'm down here in the hole.
Are you catching them?
I probably caught 25 fish. The problem is I got 5 14-inch squeakers.
So there's a bunch of fish in there, huh?
Oh, there's a ton of fish in here. They're just all small.
This fish right here, although he wasn't really big, he was definitely an upgrade to my limit, and it really was kind of decision time at this point. You know, am I going to keep working this area and hope that maybe I can cull up, you know, a few more pounds, knowing that what I have in the box isn't probably going to go very far at all in this tournament, you know, and I was conscious of the wind and the run I had to make, and we'll see what happens. You know, a lot of times you see guys not taking their time when they're culling, and you know, too many times I've seen guys not make the correct decisions when they're culling their fish. And anytime, especially when you have a limit, you know it's not really big. You know, every ounce counts, and it's really, in my opinion, critical that you take your time and make sure that you're doing the right things, and that includes fish care as well.
Alright, hey, we caught about, I don't know, 20 some fish, 25, I don't know, we'll see on the camera, but didn't get any big ones, but gotta have a limit on a tough day. So didn't find any T-Rexes, but we found plenty of animals there in Jurassic Park. So we'll see what happens the rest of the day out here.
So that pretty much was the day. You know, I got back to the landing and saw what was being weighed in, and I realized that, you know, it probably wasn't going to be really good for me. But you know, I really don't have any regrets. I made a long run. I caught a lot of fish, and they were just smaller fish. And you know, if they'd have been 3.5, 4 pounders there, it'd been a wholly different story. I've done really well. But sometimes you got to take a chance. You got to make that run. You got to commit, and that's what I did. It was a really fun day, and I caught a lot of fish, and I managed to weigh a limit. So, you know, definitely could have been a lot worse.
Thanks, man.
Five. Drove 2 hours up here. Damn right I'm gonna weigh them some bitches.
5 alive.
What want me to do?
Yeah. They're both the same. 30. 7-9.
Thanks, bro. What's leading it, like 20 pounds or something?
Yeah, Larry, like 18.
Imagine that, huh?
Alright, so at this point I've weighed my fish, the tournament is over, and I'm heading back to the truck, and that pretty much wraps up this tournament. Another great time fishing North Carolina Bassmasters. See y'all. Hey, so this particular tournament was really interesting for me. You know, I made a long run, and what's in it? What's in this for you? I guess what I would say to all of you is, you know, sometimes when you make a decision, you have to stick to it, knowing the consequences of that decision. And tournament fishing is no different. You know, I made a decision to make a long run, knowing that once I got down there, if it didn't work out, I really didn't have time to go anywhere else. And when I got down there, I probably realized about a quarter into the day that, you know, the size of the fish really was not what I needed. But at that point, to leave and try to run back and make something work would have really just kind of taken me out of my game. So I stuck with it, and I managed to catch a limit, and I did manage to get some points for the tournament. The other thing I would tell you is, you know, very quickly I realized that for whatever reason, the fish were not taking top water the way they should have been. You know, really that first, if you look back at that first hit, the way the fish came up and just kind of sucked on that top water lure instead of really busting on it hard, that told me pretty much what I needed to know, and I quickly made an adjustment
to a different bait that allow me to capitalize on that little bit more subtle bait. The next thing I'll talk to y'all about, really the last thing, is to color your soft plastics in these rivers. You know, a lot of times we think about using natural baits, and that's certainly, you know, natural colors, and that certainly works a lot of times. But I will tell you, a lot of times in that dark tannic water, you want something that stands out. The fish seem to key on it a lot better than they do a natural bait a lot of times, and it's hard to kind of think about it that way because sometimes those colors that are a little brighter, you think, well, there's nothing really in the system that matches this color. But, you know, these fish are predators, and I think when they can see something, they attack it. Pay attention to those undercut banks too, guys. Those undercut banks are really a hidden treasure on the rivers. A lot of times they're hard to find. They're subtle, but if you can find a stretch that has some good undercover banks, I promise you'll catch a lot more bass in these rivers. So remember, long runs are a commitment, and you have to be prepared for the consequences, what happens when you make them if it doesn't work out exactly the way you thought it would. Pay attention to that first bite or two you get of the day, how hard the fish are hitting that lure, how aggressive they are, and don't be afraid to make a adjustment quickly. Pay attention to the color of your lures. You know, think about maybe some brighter colors in that dark tannic water. And last, but certainly not least, pay attention to those undercut banks. And I promise you, you'll catch more fish. They'll make you money. Guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. All right, take care.